Hey, taking some last notes before we start the live broadcast, which will be in another 3 minutes. What's up, Chris? Thanks again for everything, and looking forward to seeing you next month. Okay, yeah, but less than 3 minutes to go with this tribute. We're going. Hey, Gwen. Good to see you. Just had an anniversary note to Chip about Mom. And what's happening, Jane? Welcome back, Professor. Hey, cuz, Todd, what's going on? Yeah, we got less than 2 minutes to live broadcast, and I'm cleaning up some notes. You know, that's an interesting thing that one of the things that I enjoy about my speaking business is, it's just having a nice stream of consciousness. And what that is when you know that you're delivering what you need to. Well, let me switch that up. A lot of times what people will say, if they see me speak before, they might say, oh, you're speaking, I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say. And I always joke and say with them with a serious joke where I say, yeah, me too. Because I always say, I don't know what I'm going to say, but I know what I came to talk about. And sometimes with the number one skill being listening, it's important as a speaker as well as being a person, but I hear what I'm saying. And sometimes I may say something that sparks another connection or another way to share that message. And so right in the middle of my message of what I prepared to talk about, something else comes and I say, oh man, I got to talk about that. So a lot of times I know people have said, well, Sporty, you seem to get off topic. I'm never off topic. And you got to remember to not allow people to make you feel that you're off topic. When we communicate properly or the best we know how, something we say sparks a memory or thought in someone else. So even as we're talking about teachers today, fast forward, one of the things I'm going to say to our teachers is to remind you, your job is to get the child from your grade to the next grade. And you are not going to reach every single student, especially not every single day. So it's really important to feel good about what you do and how you deliver your message, and recognize that just in life, hey, Stevenson, you got to recognize just in life that there's so many communication styles out there that we really can't reach everybody in one sitting. That's why even advertising is a lot of repetition. When you like your favorite record and song, you play it over and over. We learn through repetition. But hey, it's 12:30 on the dot, so let's keep it moving here. Jane told the supervisor about me, and he loved listening. Thank you. All right. Okay. He's an ex-Army person, but actually he's just no longer serving actively because they never become ex. They never become ex-Army persons. In the background is one of my rocks, my favorite rock. My sister Zette is here today. Even though she's on witness protection, so don't tell anybody that you saw her here. But she's doing a drive-by, just jumping in and out of Charlotte because she's going to be moving down here. So that's great that we'll be able to have that connection. But whoever I didn't say hello to, let me go back quickly and just say, because I'm going to move on. James Self, hey, what's happening? Samoit, but I can't pronounce your name, but God bless you. I'm glad to see you. All right. Anyway, and Rhonda, welcome. But let's go on with the message, because I really want to start out by saying thank you to our teachers who have the title of teachers that are in schools, especially the public schools, but also the private schools, because children are children. And I went to a private high school, so let's not act like private high schools are exempt of having children who quote unquote misbehave or may get lax in doing their studies. And it's the gamut. Children are children. And so I want to thank all the teachers. And one of the main reasons I want to thank you is because I know as the end of the year starts to come with May, as we close out everything, you got to prepare for those parents whose child has been failing all year. And now, and now suddenly they up and in the parent mode, right? And why is my child failing? Well, because what it is suddenly they realize that their responsibility level has just changed. Now they're going to have their child for 2 months without having you as the intermediary. So so definitely teachers, go on and laugh about that and embrace yourself, because you know which parents are coming. You know which parents are coming, and because we know one of the biggest smiles that I've ever seen, and it's not on a particular person, but on the faces of teachers at graduation. This year, when you go to your graduation, whatever level you go to, look at the teachers. And just see, and inside joke, we'll laugh with your teachers. Some of it is like relief. I'm getting rid of that kid. I'm getting rid of that family. But this year is over. There's just, and again, that's what life is about. There's so many things going on. And the funniest things in our lives are the truth. If we won't be willing to laugh at some of those truths, then we will create a lot of unneeded stress for ourselves. And then we become not really the joke, but what's talked about as someone who couldn't handle the pressure. Because we, as human beings, instead of going to that spot of compassion and saying, oh, wow, this person has been going through this, what can we do to support them? We instantly want to go to, they got a problem, and, and look what they're doing. And, so anyway, that's what we have to recognize, is that teachers have to use a lot of mental fortitude, and teachers, you should feel great about the resiliency you show, and not only because you may have students who are unruly, but you have to realize, especially as you get into the higher levels, once kids start hitting puberty and peer pressure. So that's why I also want to say, you notice I didn't use the term bad kids, because children are impressionable, and who are they going to be most impressed by? Their peers and their neighborhoods. They got to teach it for X amount of hours in a day. And if it's not the homeroom teacher, which the homeroom teachers only got them for X amount, no teacher depending on the grade levels, you don't have the kids the whole 7 or 8 hours. You get an hour. And again, once you get into the higher grades, since you don't have the same classes every day, you don't get an hour a day. You get 3 hours a week. So you have to start thinking about those things in terms of being compassionate for what our teachers, the roller coaster ride our teachers have to go through, because here they are trying to get a message across, and little Johnny is sitting little next to Jane, and she's cute, and then his friend told him that he needs to say this to her. Oh my God, come on, y'all have that flashback. You've been there. So let me start out with a poem, just to say thank you to all our teachers, and it's in my book called Your Name Came to Mind, which is a book all about being thankful. But I have a section in there that's actually devoted to teachers, where there's 8 poems that I've devoted. I'm going to read just one, but here's how it introduces itself, because I definitely want to give shout outs to these teachers that are in my book. And it says, I don't know where to find Mr. Rush, Miss Monroe, Mrs. Land, or Father Farrell. Yet in sharing my gift with those who continue in the education field, I thank my past teachers through my appreciation for those who now carry the passion to cultivate young minds. I encourage you to thank a teacher today, for the teacher you gave fits and now can appreciate. These next 8 poems were written through the eyes of, and finally, about today's educators, both teachers and parents. So let me back up a little and just give that shout out, because when I wrote the book, I said, I don't know how to find Mr. Rush, Miss Monroe, Mrs. Land, or Father Farrell. That was my 4th grade, 5th grade, 8th grade, and one of my high school teachers. There are plenty of other teachers that I could name, but the blessing that I had is that when I wrote this book, that was true. Since then, I am now friends with both Miss Monroe, my 5th grade teacher, and Mrs. Land, my 8th grade teacher. And those two have been wonderful blessings, and they're my friends on Facebook, so they'll probably see this and get that shout out and send a nice note. All right. But the poem that I chose to share with you today is called The Spirit of Words. And when I was doing this series of poems with teachers, I give them a theme, and our theme was words, W.O.R.D.S, what others remember and digest, strengthen spirits, one of my acronyms. But they had to give me words for each letter of that word. And my challenge was to put their words into the poem that I dedicated to them. The poem I chose to share today was actually written to a group of Catholic school teachers. So that's why this one is called the Spirit of Words. I'll repost it when this is over, and what you'll see is that all the words that, the grammar doesn't look proper, because what I did was all the words that they gave me that started with a W-O-R-D or S are capitalized in the poems to show that those were their words with me taking them and using them. The Spirit of Words. If you've ever had one of those days, consider yourself wonderfully blessed, as others may have had reason to be dazed. So smile and show those sensational dimples of responsibility as you overcome the worry and share your light by way of praise. For your will to be obedient reaches deep inside each soul with a nectar of outrageous delight and success. You become the wizard who openly rewards clicked heels. You help winners repeat and realize that they are worthy of being the best. You remind us that our golden road of opportunity is laced with reality. You're delightfully witty and wise. You enjoy witnessing the dynamic metamorphosis of God's delicate little girls and little guys. For as their choices stand in the face of dangerous options, their decisions crave ordered steps in worship, and your relentless guidance signals the Savior's touch. It may be years before you recognize the fruit of your labor, yet using only your lifetime would be far too much. Strengthen your desire to retain an omnipotent will. Know that your word affects every child who hears it. Find comfort in your power and blessing to shape one of these days for what others remember and digest, soothes and strengthens students' spirits. So again, thank you to the teachers for what you do to go through the year and strengthen student spirits. I'll repost that. Roy said hi. I'll repost that. I'll repost that. And see now, Zet and Royce who just said hi. Zet and Royce, goodness, what year? How long y'all were in class together? Since 6 years old, first grade. See, so and I go. Spoiler alert every time. I am going to be talking about our teachers, but our teachers are also our friends. Yeah. See, teachers have, that's why when you look at the announcement for this session, it says teachers and educators. Because, but without teachers, and let me go back to that tribute, without teachers, tomorrow, tomorrow would just be a 3-syllable word. Mm-hmm. Instead of the stages that we need in life, that is yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Tomorrow is the third stage of what we all go through. We have a past, we live in the present, and there will be a tomorrow where we will be alive in spirit, as people tend to think about and share memories of us. Shout out to a good friend of mine, Doreen Atherton, today, because I had seen a post that she did talking about her mother, who has been gone 32 years now. And so as when I said to her, bless you in your spirit, because by her talking about her mother, she's here. See, so her mother's tomorrow is her present. And you've got that same situation going on too. Look in your life, because we've all had death in our families, and let's not be in denial and not talk about it. It's a tough topic. But when you're going to cry, go on and cry about those people that you miss. Why, our mother's been gone 11 years now. We have no intention of getting over it. No intention. So when people say, well, how am I going to get over the loss of my mother, my father, my child, my spouse? Don't get over the loss of any of them. Be word sensitive. You don't get over it. You learn to live with it, because they were a part of who you are. They were one of your teachers, and that's so important. So here's some of the teachers in my life. I've got role models. I've got mentors and mentees, because your mentees are also your teachers. When you're a mentor, part of what you learn is that you've delivered the right message to your mentee. And so because the satisfaction is what is important as a mentor to get from the mentee, likewise as a teacher to get from her students. But the mentee gets the satisfaction of having transferred and showing the mentor, yes, I did learn that thank you for teaching me that. Now, guess what? They get the domino effect of now becoming the mentor from someone else. So all of us have those mentor-mentee relationships, and it's important to have those. Exposure. Exposure is a great teacher, and it's a great educator. You've got to make sure you get your children exposed to different things, as well as get yourself exposed to different things. Because once you, I'm going to be, and some people said, thank you for taking me on your vacation. When I went to Japan, that exposure of living in another country, and I was there for 2 weeks, and being the foreigner, being the outsider, the person who had to break communication barriers, with 93% of our communication, by the way, being nonverbal. 55% is how you look, 38% how you sound, and only 7% the words that you use. So 93% of our communication is nonverbal, and that transmits the feeling of whether or not someone will help us, and so therefore how someone will educate us by giving us the right answer, the right direction of where to go, the right food to try, the way to respond to certain people in our surroundings. Exposure is a great teacher. And then you got the extended family. The extended family is huge. Every single person in your family, they have a job in helping to socialize your child and the children around you. So even if you don't have kids, you're an educator. You're the extended family. That's why I love my title of being uncle. And on my business card, on my website, I put that as my most important title. And shout out to Corla Hawkins, Mama Hawk, because when I was in Chicago, she had a program called Recovering the Gifted Child, where she taught children that were one step away, or actually one step after being kicked out, because they weren't responding well in the normal population of children their age. So they were going to get expelled from school in the 3rd grade, y'all. 3rd, 4th. She had kids that went from 3rd to 8th grade. And she mixed them together and created schools for them. And what she did, though, she taught them social grace as a part of their education. So if you had met one of these kids during that time, and really if you meet them in these days, but depending on who you are, I was Uncle Sporty. The males were uncles, the women were aunts. Depending on their age, they were grandma, they had a grandpa. Everybody that those kids met, they gave their respectful title as well as calling their name. And I actually have ID that says Uncle Sporty. And some of those kids are grown-ups now, and they're my friends on Facebook. So I love y'all too. And Corla, Mama Hawk, her name was Mama Hawk. Her last name was Hawkins. She was a retired Navy. And so that was my girl. So that was my sister. And so I thank her for how she showed me that. But meanwhile, one of the things that I always joke about, and I get a good laugh with when I do my speaking with my military family now, I always say to them how important I enjoy being an uncle. And I always say to them, I've got 30 nieces and nephews. And people go, wow. And I say, oh, don't be impressed. I didn't put in the work. And then we get that good laugh because I didn't birth them. But I say, but in reality, I do put in the work because I focus on being a good uncle. It's important for me to be that uncle in their lives. And I have been able to, just like what I'm talking about with Mama Hawk, I've got a lot of extended family, nieces and nephews around the world because being an uncle is important to me. Whatever you are in a child's life, as well as a person's life, but I'm focusing on the children right now, whatever you are in that child's life, please be that person. Be that person that they need. They need this type of person in their life. And if you've been charged by God to be that type of person, you need to fill that role. And you need to fill it with honesty and sincerity, and most important, trust. Because that is so huge in our life. Who we can and cannot trust makes a difference. So my last category that I wrote about in terms of our teachers and educators are community leaders. You got to have community leaders. They make a difference. And I have to say I'm appreciative of the strain and the string and the thread of community leadership that I have in my family. My mother was wonderful at being a community leader. There's so many, we grew up in the projects, in Grant projects, and so many people used to call her the mother of Grant because she helped raise so many children. And then domino effect. Once they became parents, they would bring their kids to her house for her to babysit their kids. So she went through raising generations of children. That's community leadership. My sister now she became a community leader in effect, because she's a promoter. And so what she does, she has a DJ. She promotes Lady D Wells and ZVK Productions. So they give nice parties, reunions for our group that we grew up with. All the people. The one thing about the growing up in the project's hilarious. We had 2 blocks, 9 buildings, over 8,000 people, 8 to 10,000 people in that square foot area, more than some communities. Rural communities. And so one of the things, the blessings that I remind our people in the projects of, if we had grown up on a block, a regular block with houses, we know enough dead people that we would be out of friends. But because we grew up in the projects, we know still so many more people, even after that number of people have died. You know, I'm never going to back off from talking about death. This is a reality, because you know I'm not talking about death. You know I'm talking about life. You know, what we do to live and keep people going forward in our life. We learn from the people who are gone how to live. See, everything is a teaching moment, and everybody's an educator. And so my sister gave the parties called the block reunion, and that's what ended up kicking off her promotional career. And now that's what she's doing. But she still does the parties and the boat rides, and people come together. Man, we know people now 30, 40, 50, and 60 years. You know, and I know we looking damn good for being in our 60s. But, well, you know, 60 is the new 40. Bulletin, 60 is the new 60. You see this on my hand? That's an ailment that would have healed quicker in my 40s. But now in my 60s, I'm down to the blue wristband now, but I've been wearing an ACE band this for a month and a half, trying to keep myself straight, okay? So those are some of the things we get to laugh at with enjoying our lives, okay? And then meanwhile, like I said, that thread goes on. My niece, I call her my sister niece, because each of my nieces, I named them something different, because all of them are so important in my life. And my nephews, they're different. You know, they're not just my niece, just my nephew. But my niece, V. she gave an Easter egg hunt, her second annual Easter egg hunt in Harlem. Well, Easter egg hunt in Harlem, they don't do that in Harlem, not in the news. But that's where the community leadership comes in. And that, you know, and she had this year 170 kids. What was it last year, the first year?
130.
They went up from 130 to 170, and P.S., guess what? They cut it off at 170 because people were still trying to register their kids, because it was so wonderful. And there's a combination of community leadership and exposure. It was exposing these kids to a different way of celebration. Now those kids will think about Easter egg hunts, and who knows how having that happy experience on that day changes how they interact with somebody else in public.
And now she's doing the tea party.
And now she's doing a tea party. Okay, so just a lot of great things, and you can look back in your life and remember all those names. Shout outs for my project. We had Mrs. Edmonds, Mr. Steele. Was it Mr. Steele or Miss Steele? Miss Francis. You know, Miss Martin is still on there. Miss Gregory is still, you know, hanging in there. You know, we got a lot. Mr. Martin, definitely Mr. Martin, and Hank Welch. Man, at Hank Welch's celebration, it was the most men I've ever seen at a funeral. And a lot of people said that because he coached softball at every level, from preteen to junior to intermediate to senior to adult. He coached softball through your life. And we love Mr. Welch. So again, shout out Grand Projects. Y'all know Haas, I see you on there. You know how that rolls, okay? So those are some of the educators and teachers in our lives. So let me come toward the close by saying a couple of things. One of the things that I saw when I was in Japan was a sign that said, language is the future. Language is the future. See, so we need to be better educated in terms of speaking foreign language, but more importantly, of communicating with people beyond the language. Remember? Nonverbal communication. If you have a nasty disposition, someone is not going to be willing to help you, or they don't care about understanding. They can act like they don't speak your language. Haven't you done that when the bill collectors knocked your door? No speaking English. You know? Okay, but language is the future. And what I laughed is I said, language is where our 3 R's have evolved to. Instead of reading, writing, and arithmetic, I call them the 3 errors. Not the 3 R's, but the 3 errors that we are making. One, reading has become mind reading. You can't mind read when you want to communicate. You have to have open discussion. People can't sit and just feel how they feel. You can't do that. You have to let somebody know what you're thinking, especially if it's a case where you got a problem with how they're treating you. So mind reading has replaced reading. Writing. Well, we're writing abbreviated text messages instead of writing what we feel. Journaling is a great way to practice your writing skills, by the way. It's a great stress reliever as well. But we're not writing full sentences anymore. Even on our posts here, we love you. We don't put I love you. You know, we you know, and I'm not knocking us for that. There's certain things that sure you could abbreviate, but we've gotten so comfortable with abbreviating that we abbreviate everything. And so that text messaging has replaced writing. And you see how that impacts reading? Because since there's nothing to read, now we read the mind. Because what did they mean by this? I had one of my friends where they had posted something about their child of achieving something, and I posted an emoji of the laugh emoji, which to me, I was smiling at how nice their smile was, and I was happy for them. And my friend wrote me back and said, what do you mean by the laugh emoji? And they were like, you know, why are you doing that? Because everybody else was putting thumbs up and love. And so I wrote back and said, I'm smiling at their achievement. And they wrote back, oh, okay, thank you. They really was wondering why I was laughing at their child. See, you know, so sometimes your communication can be misunderstood if you're not clear. So remember, write out the full sentence and the full thought if possible, and try to do the same thing when you're talking. And the last R, we got reading, writing, and arithmetic, or arithmetic, which was short for arithmetic. But I'm saying that we've replaced arithmetic, we've replaced numbers with pictures. You know, when you think about the fast food restaurants, and not just them, but they don't add your money up anymore. They can press the picture of what you ordered, as well as, you know, and the counting, that the arithmetic they have to do is you ordered a number 1. This is not even in the fast food restaurants. This is in the regular restaurants as well. They can press what you ordered and let the computer add it up and even tell them how much change to give you. Yeah, well, some of them have gotten good where they can count the change. And I'm not knocking the people who work the registers, P.S., by the way, nor fast food. I'm saying that this is where technology has brought us. So let's also you know, be positive and be comfortable, but let's not let it make us lazy. Let every now and then stop and do something that uses the original 3 R's instead of the 3 errors that I call it. Because what I say with those 3 errors in terms of of using the pictures instead of being able to add up, we're not making the moments count. See, so I'm not just talking about count and change. We're not making the moments count, because we're making the errors, the 3 errors in communication of not really saying what we mean, reading other people's minds, and then we're not letting their spirit count for anything but a passing moment. Okay? So the things we need to do, teachers, especially this as you relax this summer or whatever you have to do, remember to take your vitamin. It's called 1 a day. Remember the 1 a day vitamin? But you need to reach 1 student per day. Stop trying to reach all of the students. It's not possible. And I'm in the speaking business. I don't care if my audience is 2, 20, 200, 2,000. I never make it my goal to reach everyone because it's not possible. Too many communication styles. And in terms of teaching, you don't know what the child went through to get to school. You know how many blocks or bus rides they had to take through bullying. through looking at depression, through dealing with a parent who kicked them out of the house. Maybe school is their respite spot. And so, there's a lot of stuff going on. So teachers, reach one a day. Just reach one student a day, and more importantly, reach one a day, reach yourself. Make sure that you know that you're delivering the right message, not just the message, what they call it, the learning plan. Don't get so stuck on this is the plan that we have to do today, to where you're not being a person and addressing the students' needs, based by bringing life to what they're learning, because they do want to learn. And so, reach your one day. Teachers, also make it your goal. Your goal. Remember that. Think about this summer, so that when you start the new year, your goal is to get them from your grade to the next grade. If you are a third grade teacher, if you are a 11th grade teacher, your goal is not to get them to graduate college. Your goal is to get them to 12th grade, so that they can graduate high school. And then they make the choice to go to college and graduate college. Get them through, and I think this is more prevalent in elementary school, where we've got them from maybe 5th grade to 8th grade, and now we've decided that the children should know what's going to be their career goals at that early age. They don't know. And then when they say they don't know, we got a problem. Well, no, you need to know. No, they don't know. It's going to change because their heroes change. That extended family that we talked about change. They start to see who does this and who does that. And so, you know what, I actually want to do that. Or they say, oh, now that so-and-so does that, I don't want to do that. I digress, I repress. We have to make sure that teachers, your goal is to get them from one grade to the other. Take that weight off your shoulders, which will also help you handle your profession better, because you're damn good at what you do. And again, when you look to the future, those teachers that I named, 3 of those 4 teachers would have easily told you, no way, Sporty's a class clown. They would not have said I was going to be a failure, but they knew me as a class clown. In fact, Mrs. Land, who got the probably a big part of my chunk of my class clownery, was the one that referred me to a high school scholarship called the ABC program, so that I could go away to a private school and have a chance to, as my mother used to say, rest my nerves and absorb learning better, because I was a good student who had just gone wild, because Miss Monroe and Mr. Rush, my 4th and 5th grade teachers, I was in the top class at those times with the best teachers, according to the system, and I was excelling. But then as I started to go to, I guess through puberty and whatever, in the movies, they're going to make a reason why. But as I got to junior high school, I started going a little bit more, hanging out, and a little bit more delinquent. And guess what? I had more freedom as a teenager. See, so everything counts. Everything counts. And Father Farrell would not have considered me. He's the one of those 4 who I named who wouldn't have thought that I would end up being any kind of a delinquent, because by now I was in high school. And I was one of his favorite students, because he had taught me to really love English. So all my English teachers in high school gave me a whole new appreciation of English, because I went to high school, math was my number one subject, and English was not, based on what I did in public school in my last years. But I picked it up once I got to high school, and Father Farrell was just, one of the best teachers that anyone could have. And lastly, for my teachers, I want to say to you, daily is a part of what you can do. So we have the vitamin, 1 a day, the goal, get one grade, just make them get through your day. But daily, what I want you to do, teachers, smile. Smile, because what you do is not easy. Not all of us do a hard job. Everybody on this broadcast, let me tell you, life is not easy. And so when you have a tough time, don't regress into why me. Recognize, oh, it's my turn. What am I going to do to get out of this? Who can I turn to help me deal with this frustration, this anxiety, this depression? Can I get on Sporty's live broadcast, or the posts that I do? That's what we have to do. That's the external family and the teachers and educators that we have to turn to. Choose your messengers carefully and recognize that you are someone's messenger. So do what you have to do. Make sure you have your coping strategies in place before you need them. Don't wait to get depressed or in a bad mood to start thinking of what do I need to do to turn this around. Do it now while you're in a good mood and while you're laughing. I always tell people, wink at yourself in the mirror as a good pick-me-up. When you wink at yourself today, when you get off and say, go wink at yourself in the mirror, you will laugh. You know, but you can't wait till you're in a bad mood to say, what is Sporty tell me to do? Go wink in the mirror. It ain't going to pick you up then. You got to do it while you're thinking, so this fool told me to wink in the mirror. And then once you do it and you see how it affects you, it becomes a part of what the military calls your toolkit. And so you start to say, this is in my toolkit to bring it out when I need it. And so now that's for the teachers. For us, the things, what can we do to support our teachers? Well, I wore my YMCA shirt today because one of the things I do, it's called the Y Readers program. It's summertime reading for kids going from 2nd grade to 3rd grade. I volunteer. That's what I'm talking about. Volunteer your time to be in a child's life. Go to career days when the school season starts again, so that children can talk to real people about what they're doing, because children usually pay attention when they got a visit. They're glad they're not listening to the teacher or doing work. Come on, you've been a teenager, you've been a child. But career day makes a difference. And I always encourage my military family to go in uniform so that they can see that this is a real person, because the news doesn't show our military as real people. And so, you know, so just a lot of background in that as well. Career day, and adopt a class. You don't have to be in the military, anything. You can adopt a class. You don't even have to be working. You can be retired. You know, find if there's a teacher that you like, a grade level that you like, adopt their class, and then make a schedule with that teacher that maybe once a month you just go in and talk to them for 30 minutes to an hour. You know, once every other month, but you make it work once a quarter. Adopt a class and let them see just how special they are. Our children are special, and so they are handled by special people that we call teachers, and we call them educators. Every single one of us is a teacher and an educator. And please, if you got the time, go back and find a past teacher or educator, mentor, family member, and say thank you. You know, we need to say thank you as often as possible. Come on, we got enough negative news in our days. That's not a question, but it's not going away. Part of progress is struggle, and sometimes in struggle there is negativity. You know that you can have the same group of friends and not all agree, have the same political outlooks, the same religious outlooks, you know, but when we choose who we want to surround ourselves with, we find ways to ignore some of the differences. And these are the differences that we highlight when it's a person that we don't like. So that's all a part of how I've been taught, because my teachers helped me make sure that I had an open mind, and they taught my spirit. And that's really the goal of what teachers do. You know, teachers ask yourself, why did you get in the profession? Because you know it wasn't for the pay. You know, maybe years ago, and it wasn't for the respect either that they used to get years ago. We see all the stuff that's happening to our teachers in their career, yet we still have people getting into that field because they have the right spirit. So bless you, teachers. Bless you, bless you, bless you. Feel good about yourself, and thank all of you for being teachers, because remember, life is about going from one puzzle to the next. You're either small, medium, or large piece of every puzzle in your family, social, or business interaction and relationships. Yet no matter what puzzle piece size you see yourself as, without you, that puzzle is called incomplete. We are incomplete without you. Thank you for being the teacher and the educator you are. God bless you, and I'll see you next week right here on Blue Wednesday. This is me and my favorite sister, my love of my life, and I love you too, Yeshiva. You know I ain't going to leave you out.
Oh, no.
But thank y'all all for the support that you've given me and my family, and please continue to do that for you and your family and your extended family. Over and out. Ciao.